They poured concrete into my private well. Not because it was dangerous, but because it was different. This isn't just a story about water, it's a story about control, defiance, and the power of one voice against a system rigged to crush it. Welcome to Rise Fuel, where real stories ignite real fire. Buckle up, asterisk, asterisk. They poured concrete into my well. Yes, my well. Fully permitted, professionally engineered, privately owned. They treated it like some kind of toxic waste site, like it threatened their little cookie-cutter utopia. And at the center of it all stood Meredith Sloan, the HOA president, with a clipboard, a god complex, and a smile like she'd just saved the neighborhood from independent thought. She called it a necessary precaution. I call it what it really was, a declaration of war. And I don't lose wars, not to weaponize pettiness in yoga pants. If you've ever gone toe-to-toe with an HOA that thinks it's the FBI, stick around. Drop your own horror story in the comments. What's the most absurd thing your HOA has ever done? But before we get to the fallout, let me take you back 6 months. That's when this whole nightmare began. I had just moved into Riverside Heights, a gorgeous, tightly tucked community of 50 homes nestled in the Colorado Springs foothills. After selling my consulting startup, I bought an $800,000 house here, paid in full. No mortgage, no strings. I wanted a quiet life. Time to focus on freelance engineering projects. I'm a civil engineer, specializing in water and drainage systems for resorts and luxury estates. After 8 years at a massive firm drowning in meetings and micromanagement, I went solo. Best decision of my life. I was making 6 figures on my own schedule, designing systems that actually mattered. The first thing I did, I built a well. Not just a hole in the ground, a marvel of sustainability, my masterpiece. This wasn't just about water, it was about freedom, innovation, and proving what I could do when no one was looking over my shoulder. Lettuce bathed it in soft blue light after sunset. A sleek granite rim reflected the daylight like polished stone. An automated control panel tracked purity, pH, flow, rates, everything. It was cleaner than city water, more beautiful than anything in the neighborhood, and 100% mine. That well represented everything I stood for: self-reliance, innovation, doing things the right way, even when it costs more. For once in my life, I didn't just build something valuable, I built something that was truly mine. That's when Meredith Sloan showed up. 3 days after the final installation, she knocked on my door with a welcome basket full of overpriced cookies and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Perfect makeup, perfect posture, the kind of polished look that screams I judge people for fun. I'm Meredith, she said, extending her manicured hand. HOA president. She walked straight past me toward the well. I just had to see what everyone's been talking about, she said. She circled it slowly, her gaze shifting from intrigued to suspicious to flat-out envious. You're an architect? She asked, eyes narrowing. Civil engineer, I replied, pulling out my phone to show her real-time water quality readings. I design water systems for high-end properties. This one uses advanced filtration 10 times cleaner than city water. For a second she looked genuinely impressed. Then her tone shifted, cold, controlled, calculated. Oh, that's interesting, she said, voice frosting over. Here in Riverside Heights, we really value simplicity, harmony. First red flag. Harmony with nature is important, I replied, trying to keep it friendly. This is sustainable design at its finest. She smiled again, but colder this time. I meant harmony with the community, Mason. We like things to flow smoothly. The way she said smoothly made my skin crawl. Still, I didn't see what was coming. I thought she was just a nosy neighbor with too much time and a laminated rulebook. I showed off the lighting, the granite, the water quality data. She crossed her arms and stared. Admiration? No, it was jealousy, masked as polite conversation. Very impressive, she said, like someone forcing themselves to compliment a rival. All this must make you feel special. It's not about feeling special, I said, a little sharper than I meant to. It's about sustainability, water independence. This system could actually benefit other homeowners. That was my mistake. Her smile iced over independence. She repeated, like it was a slur. Here in Riverside Heights, we believe in interdependence, community standards, shared goals. She turned back toward her pristinely landscaped mansion, one of those sterile luxury homes that looked like it had been built inside a showroom, and said with a tone so sweet it gave me cavities. Oh, and Mason, there's an HOA meeting next week. You should definitely come. Not an invitation, a threat. And I was about to learn just how far Meredith Sloan was willing to go to destroy anything she couldn't control. Asterisk, she whispered. She has a plan for your well. I overheard her on the phone. Something about environmental concerns and emergency measures. Mrs. Peterson's voice trembled as she handed me a note. She's found something, some legal angle. She's trying to get your well declared a contamination risk. Please be careful. Mrs. Peterson had lived in Riverside Heights for 15 years and had never seen anything like Meredith's relentless campaign against a single resident. That warning changed everything. I stopped treating this like neighborly tension and started treating it like war. I dove into research Colorado HOA law, property rights, municipal codes. What I found was both alarming and illuminating. HOA boards had tremendous power. Yes, but they were also legally obligated to enforce rules fairly and with legitimate community interest. Meredith's tactics, retroactive rules, targeted enforcement, fabricated concerns could be challenged, but only if I could prove her motivations. That was the challenge. She was smart, too smart. Everything she did was wrapped in polite language, safety, community standards, compliance. But behind that veneer was a tactical agenda, total control. Then I found something. A single clause buried in the city's water service agreement for Riverside Heights. It read, "Service subject to review and potential suspension in cases of verified environmental violations or misrepresentation of community usage or need." It clicked. Meredith didn't just want my well gone. She wanted a scapegoat to contamination, that risk she could use to demonstrate how she saved the community. She could kill two birds, remove what she saw as an eyesore and position herself as the hero. That night, I sat in my home office, surrounded by a mountain of violation notices, trying to figure out how to fight back. But by morning I realized, Meredith wasn't just planning. She was already executing. I woke to the rumble of heavy machinery outside my window. Half awake, I assumed roadwork until I saw the concrete trucks in my driveway. I rushed outside. Workers in safety vests stood around my well. Plastic sheeting covered the granite rim, and a bright yellow sign declared, "Danger, do not approach." What the hell is going on here? I shouted. The crew chief, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, looked at me with genuine pity. "Sorry, sir. We've been ordered to perform emergency environmental remediation. HOA flagged this well as a contamination hazard. We have permits. We're required to seal it immediately." I scanned the documents. Phrases like groundwater risk, public health emergency, and authorized under community safety protocol. "This is insane," I said. "This well is cleaner than city water. I have lab results, real-time monitoring, and professional certifications." He shrugged. "I don't make the calls, sir. We're just following orders. If you've got a problem, take it up with your HOA board." He gestured across the street to where a county vehicle sat. An official snapping photos like this was some standard safety procedure. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Every second, every word. I knew I'd need evidence. "You can't do this," I argued. "This is my property." The county rep walked over, clipboard in hand, badge on his jacket. He looked sympathetic, but his tone was robotic. "When a public health risk is identified, we're authorized to act." The HOA filed documentation of environmental concern. Our testing confirmed elevated levels of contaminants. "What testing?" I demanded. "Nobody has tested my water but me." "I'm sorry, sir. You can request a hearing, but the work must proceed." And just like that, the hoses started. Gray cement flowed into my well like poison. 25 feet of engineering, precision-filled, buried, ruined in under 2 hours. I stood there helpless, recording, my fists clenched as they entombed the only thing in Riverside Heights I truly owned. When the final layer settled, she appeared, Meredith Sloan, strolling across my lawn like she was checking on a garden party. "Oh, Mason," she said, voice sugary sweet, "I'm so sorry. I know how proud you were of your little project. But sometimes, we have to make sacrifices for the greater good." I could barely speak, hands shaking with rage, but I kept filming. "You know this was a lie," I said. "That well was safe. This is harassment." Her smile flickered, just for a second. The mask cracked. "That's a serious accusation. Mason, are you suggesting that county health officials would participate in some conspiracy?" She tilted her head. "That sounds paranoid." I met her gaze. "What I'm suggesting is that you just made the worst mistake of your life." She laughed, not kindly. "Mistake? I think I just solved a problem. Now you get to join the rest of us and use clean, safe city water, like normal people." She left me standing there, surrounded by churned-up soil and a concrete tomb. That night, I sat in the dark, watching my footage of her performance over and over. Her words echoed in my head. "Now you can join the rest of civilized society." She thought she had one, that she'd broken me. But Meredith made a fatal error. She targeted an engineer, someone who understands how systems work, how to find the pressure points that make entire infrastructures collapse. I spent the next few days buried in research, city contracts, environmental law, compliance clauses, phone calls with lawyers who didn't owe favors to her ex-husband. What I found was a landmine buried in bureaucracy. One false environmental claim, and the entire community's water service could be suspended. Not just a threat, a mandate. Meredith hadn't just targeted me, she'd signed a death warrant for her kingdom. I needed her to say it. I couldn't rely on documents alone. I needed her voice, her arrogance. So I set a trap. I texted her. "I think we've both had enough. Can we talk about a compromise? Maybe meet in my backyard tomorrow?" Her response came within minutes, of course. "I've always said reasonable people can work things out." She couldn't resist the victory lap. I spent that night wiring my patio disguised cameras, backup audio recorders, everything hidden in planters and speakers. I was ready. She laughed, clearly delighted with her own cleverness. I mean, you had to know having your own water source made everyone else feel inadequate, like you were showing off or something. Nobody wants to live next to someone who thinks they're better than the rest of us. So this was really about the well. About me standing out too much? I asked, giving her the chance to fully incriminate herself. Oh, absolutely, she said without hesitation. If I let one person have a private water source, soon everyone would want one, and then who would pay for the municipal water system? The whole community structure would collapse. She raised her wine glass in a mock toast to community standards and the people who enforce them. When she left that afternoon, still glowing from a self-congratulatory performance, I sat on my patio and reviewed the footage I'd captured. It was perfect. Meredith had handed me everything I needed to destroy her credibility and possibly her freedom. That evening, I called the Colorado Springs Water Department and asked to speak with a supervisor. I need to report fraudulent environmental claims that may have compromised your service agreements, I told them, and I have video evidence to support my claim. Within 48 hours, the response was swift. The city received my complaint, along with the footage and a detailed breakdown of Meredith's harassment campaign. They took it seriously. False environmental reports weren't just unethical, they exposed the city to legal liability. By Thursday morning, every home in Riverside Heights received a notice. Water service temporarily suspended pending investigation of contract violations and false reporting. Estimated restoration, pending resolution. The first phone call hit my line at 7:15 a.m. By 8 o'clock. My phone was ringing non-stop. Panicked neighbors wanted answers, showers, coffee, sanity. And for once, I didn't have to do anything. I simply let the system Meredith abused work the way it was supposed to. That evening, the HOA called an emergency meeting. The community center was packed with angry, unwashed residents. I arrived early and set up my laptop and portable projector. This was my moment. Meredith tried to control the narrative. She stood in front of the crowd, pale and strained. This appears to be a misunderstanding with the city water department, she claimed. I'm confident we can resolve it quickly. But her voice trembled. She knew I walked to the front of the room. Actually, there's no misunderstanding, I said, connecting my laptop. Water was shut off because false environmental reports were filed, reports that constitute fraud. What you're about to see is a video of our HOA president admitting she paid $500 for a fabricated contamination report. The room went silent. I hit play. Meredith's voice filled the room. $500 to someone who knows how to make things sound official and scary. Worth every penny for the results. You could hear a pin drop. Shouts erupted. You lied to all of us, one man yelled. My kids couldn't take baths last night. Another shouted. Mrs. Peterson stood, trembling with fury. You made us accomplices to your harassment. We trusted you. Meredith tried to push back. Let's all calm down. Mason clearly edited that video to make me look bad. So I played it again, this time with timestamps and raw metadata. Someone shouted. I moved to vote for her removal as HOA president. Seconded. The vote was swift. 48 in favor of removal. Meredith alone voted against it, her own. As people filed out, many stopped to apologize. We should have spoken up. We were scared. Meredith sat alone, surrounded by empty chairs. This isn't over, Mason, she hissed. I'll sue you. I'll sue the whole community. I smiled. Good luck with that. Everything I did was legal and documented. Can you say the same? The next morning, water flowed again. The city restored service after receiving the HOA's official disavowal of Meredith's actions and our full cooperation in their investigation. That morning, as I stood in my kitchen listening to the sound of running water, I felt peace. Vengeance, justice had been served. Within a week, the consequences rolled in. The county launched an investigation into the fake contamination report. The city filed civil penalties. Meredith was ordered to pay $15,000 in damages for destroying my well, plus legal fees. But her worst punishment was social. Riverside Heights required 30 days' notice before major changes in residence. Meredith was gone in 28. Word of her actions spread fast. Her neighbors turned their backs. Even charity boards distanced themselves. I used her compensation to build a new, better well. Deeper, cleaner, with a solar backup. But this time, I didn't keep it to myself. I designed it with multiple taps so nearby homes could connect. Mrs. Peterson was the first. 2 other families joined. Meredith's war against independence had created something stronger, a community. Kids played around the new well. Now a beautifully landscaped gathering space. We were building a greenhouse next. What started as a one-man fight became a quiet revolution in sustainable living. Solar panels, gardens, shared systems. Riverside Heights became the community it was meant to be: innovative, free, fair, and Meredith. 6 months later, I received an email from a Denver HOA board where she'd applied. Thought you should know what kind of person applied. The note read, attach the video. Her application was denied. On a warm summer evening, I sat by the well, with Mrs. Peterson, watching the lights dance beneath the surface. You know, she said, Meredith thought she was protecting property values, but everything's worth more now, especially the peace. She was right. Sometimes, when someone tries to break you, the best response is to build something better. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the glowing well, the laughing kids, the calm sky. Thanks for the lesson, Meredith, I whispered. This is what freedom looks like. Rise Fuel, where truth hits harder than fiction. Stay tuned. The next bombshell's coming. Asterisk, asterisk, from targeted fines to concrete sabotage. Meredith Sloan tried to bury my independence. But she forgot one thing. I know how systems work, and I know how to break them. If this story lit a fire in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Rise Fuel. More truth bombs are on the way, and, trust me, you won't want to miss the next one. Asterisk, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for such a type of amazing content. Asterisk, till then, take care and bye.